Welcome back to the Boat Nick. Today I'm out here piddling on this 1977 Montgomery 17 there in the background. When I got it, the mast had been broken and had been welded back together. It was a mess. It was about 1.5 feet shorter than it's supposed to be. Anyway, I had another mast here that I was able to use. As you can see there, I stood that up yesterday. I'm still recovering from knee surgery, so I'm having to be really careful what I do. But I'm going to turn the camera around here. So I cut another mast that I had down to fit. This was from a 20, I think this mast came off of an O-Day 23, I think, or 22. Not sure, it's been a while since I've had it for a while. Anyway, I've stood it up yesterday. I used my little mast raising system that I've got that I move around from boat to boat, but I made it from a Com-Pac 23 originally. If you go back in my videos, you can find where I gave a description of it and how it worked. Anyway, I stood it up and I just kind of jury-rigged, just put together some bits and pieces of scrap here around my shop here to make these the shrouds and stays long enough to reach. So just like I say, just rigged up, you know, like a double turnbuckle on a piece of metal there to get them where I can get the mast up like I want it. Same way here, I just used a couple of pieces of metal plate here and a turnbuckle there. Back on the back stay back there, I actually used a piece of chain just to try to get the mast up and get it in the right position. So now I can measure for my standing rigging, and which is why I wanted to get this mast up here while I'm still recuperating, where I can get my measurements on my standing rigging for this boat and go ahead and get some supplies ordered so I can get new standing rigging put together for it. So I've done that, and I've got the old rudder assembly off, which was a homemade monstrosity here that was, I guess it technically worked, but I'm hoping to be able to do a little better than that. And I'm going to take and repurpose this. This is a ruddercraft rudder from a different boat, but I'm going to see if I can modify it to work on this boat. And this is not new, but almost new. And so I'm going to pull this headstock piece off right here and get this out of the way, and then see what I need to do to modify it. I know I've got to move this down some, and then I've got to add another one up here, and then I'm going to have to extend this headstock up a little bit higher to make it work. But the rudder itself will be the right length when it's all put back together. So I'm not really doing a whole lot of boat work right now. I'm just piddling a little bit. I still need a few more weeks of recovery before I try to do too much so I don't re-hurt this knee. But anyway, just out here piddling. It's kind of warm today, and yesterday was a nice day too. And I've got 1,000 things that I need to do when I'm back where I'm able to do it. And unfortunately, the boat work is not usually top priority, so got a bunch of things to kind of catch up on. So my videos are still going to be very hit and miss for a little while, but as soon as possible, I'll get back to trying to do a weekly video. And I'm going to start taking this apart and just kind of see what I can do here. Again, this is a 1977 Montgomery 17. This one is the one that has the little kind of a galley thing on the port side, and then a bunk on the right, and then the V-berth. And so you can see how that come apart there. It's just a single bolt, and then this piece here comes out. And what I've got to do is extend this tubing here, and I think I've got some stainless tubing that same wall thickness and same size. I think I do. And I'll just extend this to get it the height I need, and then kind of go from there. Okay, so I'm just trying to get my thoughts together here and just seeing what I've got on hand here. So I've got some 1.25" 3/16 stainless stock here that's the same wall thickness as this, and that's the piece that I'm gonna need to extend to get the the rudder head and the tiller up higher, so I can weld that like that and cut it to whatever height they need. And then I've got this piece of 3/16 stainless here that these other pieces will slide into, just a snug fit, slip in fit like that. So I'll be able to cut this piece here and use it as a splice. After I weld this together, I can slide that on and do a splice to reinforce it. And that'll make a nice strong joint there instead of just a butt weld. I'll weld it, butt weld it together and then slide that tube over it, and then I can weld it there and there as well to kind of reinforce that piece. I've got a piece here long enough to make a whole brand new tube, but to do that, I have to redo all this, and this is solid welded here all the way around, so it's not something that I would want to just cut loose. That wouldn't make any sense. But these things are very well made, pretty well thought out, but they're also kind of expensive. This one here is just held on by 2 bolts, so I'll just take and unbolt that one and move it down a bit, drill new holes and remount it, and then that should be good to go with that. Got my pilot holes drilled there for my new location there. And I'll just use a couple of different size bits until I get up to the proper size for the hole. I'm using PB Blaster for coolant for the bit because it's what I had handy. It actually works pretty good with stainless. And when you're drilling stainless, of course I started with a small bit, a good sharp bit. But when you're drilling stainless, heat is your enemy. You got to keep them cool, but once they start cutting, you can't let off. You got to keep pressure on it and keep them cutting. You don't want to start and stop. You want to just keep them cutting. Okay, I relocated that one. Drill new holes. You just put the same bolts back in. And so now I've got 2. And then I've got to extend up the top here to finish all that out. So what I've decided to do, instead of just welding stuff together, this thing has the bolts where I move that up, down, and then it's got the bolt here where that head of the rudder stock was. So I'm gonna just use those bolts and just fasten this sleeve like that to extend that, and then the rudder stock will just fit in this, but I'll have to put a sleeve of this 1.25 inches inside this 1.5 inches. So I'll put that sleeve in inside of that down to the other piece there, and then through bolt all the way through everything, and then that'll hold it all, and then that way it's easily modified if I need to change something. And I just had to extend it 3.5 inches. Okay, so here's what I've come up with. This is 3/16 stainless, but it's not polished. So I've got that 1.25 inches inside the 1.5 inches, and drill all the way through, and that will go here. So the rudder head and the tiller drops in there, and then that slides over this, and that makes that 3.5 inches taller. So the only thing I've still got to do, which I'm not going to do today because I've got to do some with possible welding, I'm not going to do that today. I've got to make me a bracket right here for the pin to go in, hit the top there, and that's going to do it. Got to get me some appropriate bolts. I'm just using some bolts I got laying around for right this minute, but just about got it. Okay, so there you go. I've got the rudder system all done, except for putting in that top pin right there, and that gudgeon pintle thing right there. I've got to make a short abbreviated one here. I'll probably just weld it here because it won't ever change. And other than that, I've got to replace this with a permanent bolt and this with a permanent bolt, and then polish it. It hasn't been polished yet. It's just raw stainless. So, oh, and this bolt here, I used the original bolt there, but now it's too short, so I got to get a longer bolt to put in here. The lock nut doesn't get all the way into the nylon lock area. And anyway, it works. It works. It wasn't even that much trouble, honestly. I'm just out here piddling and almost got it done. But anyway, I've got to make a longer line here for lifting the rudder blade. It's going to have to be 6-8 inches longer, but that's no big deal. And the nice thing about these rudders is they come up completely like that and completely out of the water and just lock up there. There's a stainless steel hydraulic cylinder here that holds them up and holds them down. So kind of slick.